Hi. Yeah, Lori Kellogg, and I want to just jump off. I'm with the Murphy Institute and have worked for a variety of unions over the years, and I want to just jump off of this last point that you're making. So we're here, we're at the precipice of this final, offensive, and we're totally not ready, because what you just talked about in terms of organizing is what we, for whatever crazy reasons, haven't been doing the last 4 decades. And in fact, what we're doing, and I don't mean to, I'm going to set up a straw person over here for, but really, let's look honestly. What have we been doing? We've been imploding, fighting each other, depleting each other's treasuries, not pulling our central labor councils together. And in fact, when you look at the examples of where you have strong central labor councils that have taken on entire regional economies, where has that happened? In 10, 15, or 20 locations around the country where they took a decade to do it. So in California, you have these fantastic examples of progressive central labor councils that have taken on entire regional economies and made the capitalists sit down at their table. The rest of us, unfortunately, are not prepared. And I'd like to sort of ask you to talk more concretely about leadership and where you see it right now on the precipice, if you see it, from our established bodies and our established leaders, or even from the insurgents, but where,
Yeah, the young man in the back.
You mentioned 1848, a number that resonates with some of us. There were 1 billion people around. Now there's 7 billion, and each person's labor power has grown expansionally. To talk about jobs and economic development without talking about shorter hours. 78 years ago in this city, there was a general strike of the biggest labor force in the city, and they want a 7-hour day. That's spreading the work to 12% more people. The labor movement once talked about guaranteed annual income. We even got Nixon to talk about guaranteed annual income. And as long as we don't talk about that and only talk about jobs, don't talk about the jobs that the government could directly create. We once had something called WPA. We had other ways of dealing with it. But we have stopped raising the question. During the campaign, Obama dared to say, spread the wealth. And Joe the plumber shouted him down. He hasn't opened his mouth about that subject since.
Patrick and
I don't see us, my name is Patrick Mullen, I'm unemployed quite. I don't see us being on a precipice, actually. I feel very optimistic. I think the election of Cuomo, I think the attack on public sector unions has actually placed organized labor and progressives at a point where we must make a choice between a collaborationist line that we have followed for at least since the 50s, in which we select a democratic politician as being somehow the savior for the working class, and we go to our members, we collect money from them, we commit class treason, class suicide, and we give it to them and we elect them. And now we have elected a governor, for instance, who the zeitgeist at the time is that he can afford to say he doesn't even want the support of unions and get away with it. We it seems to me folks in organized labor now have a choice to make whether or not we can pursue an alternative form of organization, which would mean developing a labor party that represents the true interests of the workers of the United States and workers of the world. I'm intrigued by your concept of the use of eminent domain, but to use that, you would need, in fact, an organized political force, not the Democratic Party. And I'm not thinking of the Working Families Party, because that's not really a party. That's some sort of formation that identifies which, to use the word of Malcolm, which of the Democratic politicians will stick the knife only 9 inches rather than 10, into our backs. So it seems to me that we ought to look at this present moment. The attack on the public sector, this union, 1199, before Rockefeller recognized this union and gave us this union the right to collective bargaining, struck in 58. Leon Davis went to jail in 59, 50. I don't know, you might remember. So we don't need what Tahir where it teaches us we don't need official political parties in order to organize. We can organize if they choose to recognize it or not.
Mm-hmm.
We can strike generally if they choose to recognize it or not.
Right.
We don't need it. What we do need is a leadership that recognizes that we are a class.
Right. Can I just
Which the Democratic Party
right.
does not. It obfuscates for us, and the chief obfuscator of all is Obama.
Right.
His I hate to say this, right? Trust me, my DNA has been tested. His mulattoness has obfuscated for the vast majority of African Americans what their true interests are. I come here, I used to work here, and I come here every Friday, well, most every Friday, and we sit on the fourth room and drink. And I can't tell you how difficult. There was a time when I was almost run out of the building for attacking Obama. I cannot tell you how difficult it is for African Americans to recognize this issue of class. Class in our society, race in our society is used to obfuscate class. And until we get across to African Americans, and in fact, we need, in fact, a politics of class. Because this guy has, in fact, aligned himself with the financial wing of the capitalist class and has screwed, at every opportunity where he's had a chance to, has screwed the American working class, and in particular African Americans. He's done nothing at all.
I wanted to ask just a couple of specific things. Right now, in terms of
Who are you and where?
Len Mel, and I'm with the LLP. Right now, we see coming up the issue of potentially a government shutdown. You also see the budget ceiling issue coming up. Also, the IMF, being our good buddies, recently came out and called for the dollar to be dropped as a reserve currency. So, that seems to be setting the stage for another assault on us. And the question is, how should we respond to that very general economic assault to us? And then I wanted to ask if you had any legislation that you see in the Congress that we might want to support in particular, and if you had any reaction to the Angeles report, which pretty much outlined the shadow banking and all the rest, and whether we've done anything to stop any of that, or we're waiting for just round 2 again, and what that does to us. So what legislation, how do we respond to this financial crisis that's liable to fiscal crisis that's liable to come to us, and what do we do about stopping another financial crisis? Because all those things will drive, a knife into the back of labor. Thank you.
The young lady in the front.
My name is Joy Shulman. I'm with the Left Labor Project and have been unions.
Can you hear in the back?
I'm sorry. My name is Joy Shulman. I've been working with the Left Labor Project and have a history of being staff, actually mainly in public sector unions. I mean, I guess to me the whole thing around Obama is really not that relevant. Bill Clinton did NATO, did all this stuff. Obama, in fact, got through the health bill. Obama represents where the Democratic Party is at, or better. So I guess to me, I don't think Obama is the point. I think in the spectrum of the Democratic Party, Obama is just fine. And so to me, it's like, when you look at the health care bill, it was interesting in terms of, on the one hand, it's an incredibly actually progressive piece of legislation, despite the fact that there was no public option. Either you're going to eliminate the insurance companies,
Good idea.
or you're not. The public option. In fact, what's not talked about, because people are so afraid of saying that something's good for poor people, part of the 30 million people that are going to be affected by it is that 15 million people will be now eligible to be on Medicaid, which is a great thing.
They're
So
cutting all over the place. Right?
what?
Please
They're
don't
cutting it all,
Medicaid everywhere.
sorry.
Are we not crossed off?
Anyway, so I guess I don't think, to me, I don't think Obama's the point. I think the point is, how do we impact the politics of it? And obviously it'd be more desirable if we had a core left organization and we had a mass labor, a progressive thing to push it. But I know that I sometimes wonder now, and I frankly don't even have an opinion on it, but I'd like to talk more concretely. Here we have Como, right? It's absolutely outrageous. He comes out, we're in New York, and the people who caused the crisis here are getting $1 million bonuses. He wasn't even running against someone close that he had to take these stands, but somehow decided he would. I mean, what should we do in the immediate future? There's probably, 50 Democratic clubs in the 5 boroughs. Should we go into them and force them to take a vote against that? I mean, I sort of feel like that we should talk in an immediate sense. How do we impact this moment? We have, 100 people who have some influence on, who are seasoned organizers. I'm not advocating it. I just want a more concrete talk about what we should do in New York City with the connections that we have.